All right, welcome everybody to our second monthly Architects update, SSW Architects. So the first update on our list this month is a team name. So every good team needs a name. And at SSW, we have some groups of experts, different sorts of experts, and we call them white robes. So for example, we have React white robes, we have DevOps white robes, and Scrum white robes. So sort of following along that same line, we have named our team the Software Architect White Robes, or SAWR for short. So that's the first thing that we did this month. Now, the second thing, which was a big thing as well, was our CLI template, our .NET template. So this has now been published to NuGet, so you can install this template yourself. We published a fresh version of this today, version 3.0. And we've got some details down the bottom of the README here on how to install this template and how to instantiate this template. It's really quite easy to use. And if you do have any previous versions of this template installed, just running the install command again will get you updated to the latest template. Now, if you're interested in all of the little bits and pieces that have gone to this template, we do have a release that's documented on our GitHub page. So these are all of the features that have gone into this release. It's quite a big long list, and we'll go through some of these today in the update. Next, we have another bit of work that was done this month, which was to update the repo to make it public friendly. So Chris, would you like to take us through the updates that we've done here?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Dan. So we've done a bit of work to make this repo public friendly, and of course, and also to improve the developer experience as well. So the first one, we add a better README, put more details there, and also now we have a license. We currently selecting MIT as the license, means that this is everyone can just use it in their private project. There's no strings attached. And then also next one, we also have a code quality action. So then this works really well, especially in a public repository when if you want to make a pull request, then there's a bit of actions there, the process that will make sure that your pull request will not break the code. On top of that, we also do branch protection rules, which are basically both of these two combined. You can only merge when all the tests and all quality have passed the checks. So I think that's the main thing that we just added to the repository to make it public friendly. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Now, next, William, would you be able to run us through some of the work you've been doing around our clean architecture workshop material?
Yeah, so there's actually two big parts to this. I've got a presentation, which is going to be serving as our main marketing material for announcing our new clean architecture template and the sites that are associated with it. So we've got a community of practice site that goes along with our main repository, as well as then all the clean architecture training workshops that we're working on. We've got some highlights there of what's new and what was old that we took out, and just how we want to do it better, and then where you can go to get involved or to sign up for the workshop. So mainly a bit of the marketing side of things for both internally at SSW and to the public. So there'll be some videos coming out for that soon. So keep an eye out on SSW TV.
Awesome. Thank you, William. So next we've got a bunch of updates that we've made to the template itself. Some are small quality of life changes and some are a little bit larger. So the first one we had was just a small change we did to how we handle or how we can create domain events within the template. So previously we were using, you can see in the code diff here, we were using a class syntax to create these events, which was a little bit more verbose. You can see, there's five lines or so that we had needed to create one of these events. And now we've kind of migrated to a record-based approach to using these. So just makes it a lot easier to create an event, one line, one event. Happy days. The next change we made was around how domain events are actually published. So previously, we had a coupling of Mediator in the DB context, and Mediator was publishing these domain events directly within the DB context. So we've kind of stripped that away, and now we've wrapped up the dispatching of our domain events, and it's all encapsulated within an interceptor. So this is sort of leveraging the EF core save changes interceptor just to make it a little bit easier or a little bit less decoupled. And this also aligns with how we're actually handling the automatic updates to the auditing of the entities as well. So say, for example, if an entity is updated, we automatically mark, timestamp that with the updated date and also who's updated that record as well. And that was being handled via a save changes interceptor as well. So now those two things are just aligned and executed in the same way. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is a GraphQL reference architecture. So part of the clean architecture work that we're doing, the template is a big part of the work, but we're also creating some reference architectures off to the side, and also highlighting clean architecture templates from other people in the community as well. So one of these templates that we've put together is, or that I've put together, is a GraphQL version of this. So it sort of takes an earlier version of our base template and just shows how you can get that to work nice and easy with GraphQL. And this is something that our workshop is going to cover, which we're going to talk a little bit more later on as well. Now, I sort of touched on this a little bit, awesome clean architecture. So this is another site that we are putting together. So out in the community, there's lots of awesome type sites on sort of various different things in the software world. There's awesome Blazor, there's awesome architecture. And so we've created an awesome clean architecture site. Now, the site is private at the moment. It will be going public very soon. And you can sort of see, like I mentioned, it's a collection of resources that are sort of based all around clean architecture. So we have some links to some popular templates, community templates, ours included, of course. And we've got some reference architectures here. This was the GraphQL one that I just talked about. Also got another one that kind of leans a bit more into domain-driven design and explores how DDD works with clean architecture. And the goal is to sort of flesh this out and publish more resources into here over time. The next, William's going to talk about a change that we made this sprint around repositories and what we did there.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. So the main change we did was to combat the need for the unit of work pattern. Because we were using our repositories, we needed in any of the bulk operations, and if you needed to roll back scenarios, the repositories don't quite work very well with those scenarios on their own. You have to bring in the unit of work pattern. So we renegotiated amongst ourselves a bit to remove that, the repository pattern for now, and work with the entity framework DB context directly for the time being until we have a better solution. But still, we're keeping the usage of specifications from Steve Smith. So that reusable querying logic, it's amazing. So it really reduces the amount of EF work you actually have to do, so we can reuse those queries throughout our application. Plus, they're really easy to test. So in our template project, we've got some examples of how to test them, and you can test these specifications without needing to mock entity framework in any way. And they work really well. It's quite nice and straightforward. So there's an example on the screen there of how we can test the to-do item by title spec. It's quite straightforward. You just mock up some data, give it through the spec there to say, evaluate this set of entities and give me the results, and you can go and verify them. So it's a very straightforward unit test, and no entity framework inside. But because we have an entity framework still in the application layer, we can still do the really flexible queries. If we had to cover some edge cases, we can do projections and all that kind of stuff that we sort of quite sorely need in some of our projects and might miss out on when using the repositories. So yeah, for the time being, we're sort of just using that and working towards some other approaches in the future to see how can we make this a whole lot better.
Awesome. Thank you, William. So moving on to some of the training that we're putting together around clean architecture and around our templates. So one of the big focuses this month has been around the material, the content for our clean architecture workshop that we're going to put on soon. So there's been a lot of work by myself, by Goldie, and by William as well on the content and the PowerPoint slides, etc. for this workshop. So I'd say at the moment the content is probably about 70% complete. So we still need to work on this over the next sprint, over the next month. And the workshop, we just sort of locked in the dates, I think just yesterday on this. And so the workshop is going to be run by myself and by Luke. We're running it in all the major cities, so Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. And the first one is kicking off in Brisbane on July 24. So the workshops are going to run over the end of July and into the start of August as well. So if you're after some more information on that, you can find some more details on the events, the exact dates, and a little bit more information on these workshops as well. So recommend checking that out on our SSW website if that's something that you're interested in. So that pretty much sums up all the work that we've done, that this team's done over the last month. So the plan for the next month is to finish the Clean Architecture Workshop, all the content for that. That's going to be a really big focus for us. Some other improvements that we'd like to make it to the template. So right now we can use the template to create a whole project, but it's kind of like a one-time kind of deal. So what we would like to do is to add some item templates into the project as well to help sort of just create commands and queries, the things that you're doing all the time in the application layer. There's a lot of boilerplate that normally goes along with that. So we're going to look at just making that easier to create and faster to get your code done, basically. We're also going to investigate a decision-making framework just around, so working on the clean architecture template, there's often a lot of decisions that have to be made, and quite often none of these decisions are very clear-cut. There's always pros and cons to pretty much everything that we could decide. So we're looking at putting together a bit of a framework and just a formal way to document some of these decisions, some of the things that some of the pros and cons for different options, and just making it a lot more explicit to reason about the choices that we've made on various things. And probably the last piece of work that we're going to aim to do over the next month is around the project personas. So what we want to do there is sort of come up with a little bit of a guide that will help you size projects, maybe if you're starting off a new project, to figure out the size and complexity, and ultimately guide you to choosing an architecture for that project. So we use at SSW, we use a lot of clean architecture in a lot of our projects, but there's also other architectures out there that can be a good option sometimes, like vertical slice architecture or modular monolith, or even microservices as well. So that's all we had in this month's update. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next time. Bye-bye.